You're listening to another episode of Rig Recon Live. I'm Bruce Quick alongside Jason Whitmire. And before we get started on today's episode, make sure you follow us on social media. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Rig Recon. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast and turn on those notifications so you know when new episodes come out. We have over 10 episodes released this year, so a lot of great content with a lot of industry leaders and a lot of great guests. So make sure you catch up on all the latest episodes. You can find that anywhere you get your podcast or on rigrecon.com. And speaking of rigrecon.com, make sure you do visit that website. There's new content going up monthly, whether it's podcasts, product guides, even product comparisons, and a new product topic, which is what we're going to talk about today, which is pump controls. So it'll be me and Jason today. Jason at FDIC, FRC debuted a new system called ACE. So I'm going to leave it at that, and I'm going to kind of let you explain what that is and what that means.
Lots and lots of acronyms in the fire service. So just another acronym to throw in there. And I'm sure at some point our friends will twist ACE into a funny acronym, but right now it stands for Advanced Control Environment. A lot of people right away want to say, oh, automated control environment. Well, we all know that the fire service, a little bit standoffish when it comes to automation. So we worry about automating things and what that's going to do to us as a whole service in an organization. But what this system really and truly does is it gives you optional automation. So one of the cool things with the advancements in technology is sometimes things are just forced upon you and you're stuck with it. And it's, oh, I got this new technology and now everything's automated and I have no choices. Sure, I have choices. Do I want it to turn on during A or B? But bottom line is it's going to turn on.
Right.
With the ACE system, you really get to go in and customize it to a level that works for your department. So it gives you that level of automation that you're comfortable with without forcing things on.
Right. And I think the biggest thing that maybe we've found is the technology falls under the old cliche, right? The fire service is 150 years of tradition, unimpeded by progress. What's going to make this so different? So maybe talk to us a little bit about the history of technology and how it has changed. And maybe this idea isn't necessarily new.
Sure. Let's start with the fact that electric valves have been around for a long time. Electric valves in the fire service have a fairly bad history. And part of the reason there was a bad history, when the fire service first started to use electric valves, they weren't designed for the fire service. They kind of came into the market as, hey, there's an electric valve on this industrial machine sitting in a plant. I'll throw it into a pump house and a firehouse now. So I'll throw it into a harsh environment where there's water flying around. The temperatures change constantly. Sometimes it's freezing cold. Sometimes it's extremely hot in there. I've got this massive exhaust system in there throwing heat in. I've got water spraying through that can intrude into things. And then I'm running them under high pressure. So a lot of times a valve is opened and closed at the start of something. So I'm tacked down and I open it up and life's good. With a fire truck, I may be running at 1,300 RPMs. That pump's churning away, generating pressure. Now I'm trying to open that valve against it.
Right.
That caused failures. That caused problems. We redesigned the electric valve about a decade ago now and changed all the connections so that everything is completely sealed and waterproof. It's actually, there's an epoxy inside the motor or inside the electronics so that you can't get water intrusion in there. We changed the gears. We made them stronger so that you're not going to strip them out. And we did all of that and proved it by standing behind it with a 10-year warranty on everything, on the electronics, on the gearing. The backbone to the ACE system is our electric valve, and it's the L-Card E14X actuator. Now, E14X doesn't mean much to a lot of people. What it does mean is it's our electric actuator that we've been using now for over 6 years. So the actuator itself, not new technology, been in the field, been proven, plenty of history out there with people who have used it and been very successful with it. It's on our Apex valves. If you go back to our old UBEC valves, a lot of our UBEC valves use that.
Right.
Now let's look at the next step in it. The next step in it is a touch screen. So again, Everyone gets nervous. Oh man, touch screen, there's multiplexing involved. Multiplexing's been involved in the fire industry for over 20 years now. The first multiplex fire trucks are probably older than 20 years, but it's been kind of in the forefront now for 2 decades. So we've
Mhm.
proven that multiplexing can work. Touchscreen technology. Touchscreen technology was bad when it first came out.
Right.
I didn't work with certain touches. It would detect touches that weren't there. When it first came out, it was two membranes and you'd push those membranes together. So if you damaged a membrane, if you got a little condensation in between the membranes, that wouldn't work. Think about it today. We're all carrying one of these around with us.
Right.
Every one of us has a touchscreen in our pocket for the most part. They're pretty flawless these days. So that's another part of the system that you can step away from and say, hey, this isn't brand new technology. Now the final component would be the software and the pieces that go into it. And the funny story here is, if I go back over a decade to an FDIC, I believe it was 2014. FRC at the time was partnered with two other companies and debuted a touchscreen pump panel at FDIC. It was shown. Some people were excited. The feedback we got from it, the industry wasn't ready yet. It wasn't exactly the right time. So while we just debuted this new technology at FDIC in 2025, we had it 11 years ago. We've
Right.
been refining it and working on it. And then we finally saw, hey, it might be the right time now to go to market with this. So it's had just a decade of testing and development to get to where we are, that we can bring a product to the market that we feel comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, in some of the videos that we've done on it, you start with the great point, right? Everything has changed. Technology has changed. We're all carrying a touchscreen in our pocket. We're using computers every day. So, it's only a matter of time before the fire industry integrates in with ACE and some sort of touchscreen aspect to it on the pump. But I want to shift to maybe the biggest point that I think we should drive home and that we drive home out in the field, and maybe the biggest question that everybody's going to ask. And does this technology or will this technology replace the pump operator?
Big question that gets asked a lot. The answer to that is absolutely not.
Mm.
Now, the first thing is we don't have autonomous vehicles. So someone has to drive the truck there.
Right.
So right from the start, the engineer or the operator has not gone away. But a lot of people think, oh, okay, this pump, by doing this technology, now the truck kind of pumps itself. And I can take my pump operator and I can put him on an attack line and go into a building. We are not a proponent of that at all. And we caution fire departments. That's just a bad idea.
Mhm.
That pump operator serves so many purposes. There are so many things that can go wrong outside of that truck. So while I've got this system that is we're going to talk about some of the features. And while I've got this system that can help protect my firefighters, protect my pump, protect my equipment, there's still things that can happen. If I lose water, the system has automation built in to start looking to switch to tank to pump, to try and not burn up the pump. But you still need that operator that looks and goes, okay, where'd my water go? What happened? Did a car run over the supply line? Did the hydrant fail? Do I need to switch to an alternate water source? There's no AI or machinery that's going to do that. I need that pump operator for that.
Right.
There's also the way the system works. Let's say you do lose that water source. So the system's smart enough to switch over to tank water and keep that line flowing inside. But someone needs to let them firefighters know inside, hey guys, I lost water.
Right.
You got to start backing out because I've got 500 gallons or 750, whatever's in my tank. That's what I have left. And that's my lifeline to get you out of there. So I need my pump operator to operate and tell them that and let them know that. What it does do to the pump operator is it unchains him a little bit from that pump panel. So right now, most pump operators are afraid. I don't want to walk away. I got to watch these gauges. I got to make sure everything's working right. When I get a system like this, because the system has automation and is watching a lot of the things that a good trained pump operator will be doing on his own. Now, if I detect the guys are yelling inside, we need more water. And you're looking at the panel and you're going, there's plenty of pressure on this line. And there's a kink in the front yard. Well, now that pump operator can run around and undo that kink and get that water to them and not be afraid that while he's away from the pump for 5 seconds, everything's going to go to in a bad way.
Yeah.
Try to not bad words. That everything isn't going to go negative on him.
Yeah.
Another great example was someone needs a piece of equipment and they can't find it. And he can run to a compartment and grab that piece of equipment for them so they can continue with their operation. These are all the little things that are built in. The key takeaway here is no, we are not looking to replace the pump operator, and we are not proponents of any fire department saying, let's eliminate our pump operator.
Yeah, if anything, you're not taking away a pump operator, but you're almost adding one, right? With the safety features and all the things that it can do. So now you got essentially two operators on that pump, which creates a little more efficiency and like you said, maybe alleviates him a little bit to take care of some things that come up. So you segue sort of into the safety features, right? Firefighters, they're literally running into burning buildings while everyone else is running out, and they're relying that they go in with that attack line, right? Water's going to come out of that nozzle no matter what happens. But it's critical that they have that water. So talk about some of the safety features that are with the system and how we're protecting firefighters on that attack line as well.
So safety obviously is built into our name. It's right on my shirt here. So obviously safety is one of our keys, and it's one of the key things that we as a company look at. And it's something that obviously safety is one of our keys. And 50 years ago, that's hard to imagine. And for some of the people listening in this podcast, they're going, oh man, that makes me feel really old. 50 years, the FRC pressure governor has been out there. Believe it or not, 50 years later, there's still some people that say, I don't know if I like that pressure governor technology. I'm not sure about it.
Right.
Let's face the facts. It's proven it works.
Yeah.
What we do with the safety of this system and where this system, the best way to describe some of what this system can do and how it can protect a firefighter. Let's go through, I like talking scenarios, and let's go through a common scenario in a fire ground. So you're the first due in engine, you pull in on scene, your crew deploys a 2-inch attack line from across lay. They get in the front door, they call for water, you go tank to pump, you charge that line, they start to attack that fire. Now you get the second in engine lays into you. You get hooked in and you get a water supply established. Now you switch to that water supply and continue your attack. Seamless. You never have to take water away from them. These are all common things that a good experienced pump operator would do. If that pump operator is very experienced, let's say he has a 500-gallon water tank and he was down to about 200 gallons, and now he's got the water source and he's running and they're attacking the fire and everything's going well, he's going to top that tank off. So he needs to open the tank fill line slightly, watch that it gets full. Probably not going to pay attention the whole time. There's other things going on. He's probably going to hear the splashing as water runs down onto the ground, which on a day like today, as we're shooting this podcast in the middle of the summer, isn't necessarily a big deal.
Right.
But in mid-February, that's bad because now he just caused an ice slick all around his rig. So then he's going to shut that down and go back to work. With ACE, the way the system works, if you've got the automations enabled, as soon as he gets on scene and shifts into pump gear, he's immediately going to open his tank to pump line. Again, these are optional things I'm talking about. They could turn them off if they want to. But if they've got everything enabled, it's automatically going to open tank to pump. So he's ready to go from the tank water. Deploy that cross lay, put it in service by hitting a button. You hit that button, it charges the line, they're fighting the fire. Now, that second engine rolls in and gets the feed. You push a button on the pump panel to say, I'm going to hydrant mode now. When you get to hydrant mode, the system's going to prompt you and say, where you want to bring that hydrant in from? Because on most trucks, that can be multiple different sources. Right. So let's say it's the driver's side inlet. This is where it's really cool. One button does everything that pump operator previously would have done. he hits auto open on that driver's side inlet. The system will automatically open the inlet, see that it has good water, automatically close the tank to pump line, which would have been an operator pushing a valve. It's automatically going to crack the tank fill open to a preset percentage, not stealing water from the main line. It's going to fill that tank to whatever level we've set. So let's say we fill it 95% of the way so we don't spill any. And then it's going to shut that tank to pump line down, or that tank refill line, I should say. If while I'm operating, the system detects I lost my inlet source, it went away, I don't have water coming in anymore, automatically going to open that tank to pump line to keep that line flowing inside. At the same time, you're going to hear your RPMs rev. You're going to get some alarms throwing up saying you've lost your water source, and now prompting the operator to radio in and say, hey guys, lost my water. You got to start backing out.
Right.
These are the little safety automations that are built in that we're assuring we're going to keep everyone in service. We're going to have that safety backup. We're going to monitor everything at all times.
Right. And we've seen a lot of news articles recently about long lead times for fire apparatus, lack of reserve rigs. So keeping that rig in service now is crucial to the success of the fire department. And ACE actually can help with that. So why don't you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, a fire truck these days is a major investment for a fire department. We all know the cost is well over $1 million for a lot of these vehicles. The lead time's 3 to 4 years. And if you think about it, the reserve pieces, we're trying to phase them out more because there's so much new safety technology built into a new rig that pulling a 25-year-old rig out of mothballs to put it in service as a reserve, you didn't pick up all those safety features.
Right.
So keeping a rig in service is critical. Regular maintenance helps you do that. But the biggest pain point on a fire truck is that pumping system. It's something that we tend to use and abuse if you think about the way it's used on a fire scene. A lot of times you get on scene, you put the truck in pump, you start to fight that fire, but there's a lot of times where they'll shut the lines down and you're just sitting there and you're just at idle, or you're even ramped up on RPMs, but you're not moving water. So now that water is churning in the pump. As that impeller keeps turning and that water keeps churning, it heats up. And heat is the enemy to a fire pump. So with ACE, we're monitoring the internal temperatures on that pump. We're looking at what is the water temp inside the pump. Is it too cold in the winter? Is it too hot in the summer? Or even is it too hot in the winter because I'm sitting it the whole time not moving water?
Right.
As our temperature starts to increase, through our automation, we can automatically start to circulate water from the tank into the pump. Now, this helps keep it cool, but at the same time, you have to know when to do that. If you waited until all the alarms were going and the pump was overheating and you brought, say it's cold outside, you brought cold water in, that can shatter the mechanical seal inside of a pump. That quick introduction of really cold water when it was really hot in there. So we're monitoring the temperatures, and when it hits an area where we start to approach a problem, we circulate that water in a safe manner. We don't steal water from the scene. If we detect that by circulating water, we've taken water away from the attack line, we're going to turn that back off. Temperatures continue to rise. Eventually, we're going to have to throw up alarms on the screen and tell everyone it's time to shut down. We've got a problem. So that's one big way that it does it. The other way is, and this pressure governors have always monitored to an extent what's going on inside that pump, but traditionally they monitored what's coming out of it. Our pressure governors at FRC have also monitored intake. ACE takes it a step further. It's looking at the actual flow coming into them intakes. It has features where it can pre-prime a pump and do things like that. The nice thing there is you're watching and you're preventing against cavitation. Cavitation is the lack of water inside a pump. And what a lot of people don't understand is if I run a pump dry, I am wearing on them impellers. There's nothing. I mean, water is naturally kind of lubricating and keeping them impellers safe. The lack of water running a pump is bad. But what's even worse is if I'm running a pump at a high RPM with I'm at that hairy edge where there's a little bit of water in there, but not much. As you speed that up, those water droplets tend to vaporize and they almost become like little babies inside the pump. And what they'll do is they'll wear on the impeller or they'll put a hole in the impeller, which damages your pump and causes a really, really expensive and long amount of downtime to fix that.
How much does this technology cost and what is the demand for it today?
So that's always the big question. What's it going to cost me? And there truly is no easy way to answer that question. But there are ways that we can help people relate. If you're a fire department that's already adopted electronic technology, so we see pump panels, we feature them on our Facebook page all the time. There's probably some up on Rig Recon where you see an all electronic pump panel, a whole bunch of Apex valve controllers, for example. If you've already taken that step, and if you've already taken the step of flow meters, then you've already taken the big hurdle on cost. Going from something that already has flow meters and electric controls to the ACE system, you're probably talking somewhere in the $10,000 to $12,000 range.
Mhm.
Now, if I'm someone that's all manual and I'm going electronic, this is a big undertaking at this point because I've got flow meters that cost money. I've got electric valves that cost money. And then I've got the ACE system itself. The ACE system itself, like we said, is pretty simple and it runs in that $10,000 range. The electric valves, the electric intakes, that's where the wild card comes in because it's how many discharges do I have? How many intakes do I have? How many different places do I want to prime from?
Right.
We usually put a round figure on it, somewhere around $70,000 more than a completely manual pump panel. A lot of people will look at that and go, wow, that's a big number. In the grand scheme of things, if it can extend the life of my truck, make it safer for my firefighters and make operations easier, probably not that bad of a number. And it's a competitive number in the market.
Right.
You asked the question, how much is the market asking for it? So this isn't for everyone. We're not saying that every fire truck in the market these days should have an all electric automated pump panel on it, but it's growing in popularity. There are several out there in the market. Granted, our competitor system came out a couple of years ago, so there's more of them out, more of the competitors out there than there are ours right now. But there are several of those systems out there. There's good feedback on the departments that have adopted it and started to get used to it. I can personally say in my fire department, 2 of my main pump operators are well up there in their senior years. And we have an all electric panel that we got on our last truck. And when we got it, they were like, this is crazy. This is ridiculous. It's never going to work.
Right.
Not a truck in service for 10 years. They love pumping it. I'm not sure they could go back and pump the old one anymore because they're not used to now working levers and leaning on that hose and feeling that the right pressure is there.
Right.
They're spoiled a little bit now. So they've got everything. One of the other advanced features I'll talk about before we wrap up here on ACE that we're just kind of working on some of it is an automatic system. So one of the automations you can turn on is for flow. So most fire departments will do their homework and they'll say, okay, cross lane number 1, I know that there's 200 feet of hose on there. It's 2-inch. Maybe it's got a smooth bore nozzle that I'm running at 50 PSI. So I've done my homework. I've done the math on friction loss and my pump discharge pressure is 80 PSI. With the ACE system, you could go into auto mode if you choose. You don't have to. You could go into auto mode on that cross lay. And now what the system will do is it will automatically bring the RPMs up to a preset number, open the valve to a preset area, and look for 80 PSI discharge pressure. If it sees the 80 PSI, it'll sit there. If it sees you're at 70 PSI, it'll open the valve further. If it gets the valve open the whole way and we still don't have enough, the ACE system's talking to the governor. Now it tells the governor, raise my RPMs up. Keep me at 80 PSI. Second line goes into operation. No problem. Everything's looking and maintaining the preset pressures. They shut that second line down. We're not going to transfer the pressure over to the other line. The governor's going to see that the pressure's starting to spike. It's going to lower its RPM. Governors have always done that. What ACE brings into the market is that governor hits idle, There's nothing else it can do. So if I'm on a hot hydrant and I have good pressure coming in and the governor's at idle, the pump operator needs to know, okay, I need to gate back the discharge. That's where ACE takes it a step further, and ACE says, no, I'll do that for you. I'll gate that discharge back. And then if the discharge needs to open more, I'll open it up more. The next step in this evolution would be to look at GPM. So instead of just going on pressure, someone says, I know I've got a 175 tip on there and I want to flow 175 gallons per minute. And the system starts to monitor the gallons per minute going through there and adjusts. Now it doesn't matter what happens. I kink a hose, I'm not going to see 175 anymore. So I'm going to increase the pressure till I get back to 175. These are the cool things that can really just advance what we're doing on the fire ground.
Yeah, I think a lot of great stuff today, and for our listeners, we have posted ACE stuff everywhere that you can find gobbles and gobbles of information on this. We have a whole series of videos by Jason himself breaking down the ACE system and the functionality and the safety features and the diagnostics. You can find this all on rigrecon.com under the pump controls topic. We even have a product guide for it. And also, if you want to get even deeper into it, you can go to fireresearch.com where you can get the brochure and all the other related documents to it. You can find this all on YouTube, on the websites, on our social media as usual. So if you really want to deep dive into this after the podcast, you can do that as well. Jason, as we wrap up today, I'll open it up for final comments, maybe a summary. I think the biggest thing to drive home is ACE is the future of pump controls, right? You think about the first time you had your iPhone versus now what the iPhone's like. This is going to be the same evolution of that. Now that dumbs it down a little bit, but that's sort of to get the theory across. And then the second biggest thing is we are not pitching and ACE is not pitching that it replaces the pump operator. In fact, it just makes a smarter and more efficient pump operator.
Absolutely. We're trying to help the pump operator out. We're not trying to replace him. This technology is not for every fire department out there, but my key thing would be don't shy away from technology. Be open to it, look at it, evaluate it. If you evaluate it and you say this just isn't for us, that's great. But at least be open-minded. There's a lot out there that can help you, and I think people need to look at it. The other thing is we've got a demo truck that we're running around the country. We only have one, and it's a big country to cover out there. But if you're a department that's interested in it, reach out to your local regional and we'll see if we can get it scheduled to stop by.
Great episode today, Jason. Appreciate your time. You listened to another episode of Rig Recon Live. If you haven't already, follow us on social media. You can get this podcast wherever you get it, including YouTube. And more importantly, visit Rig Recon so you can find out all about the future of pump controls. Until then, expect the best.